After completing my 10th class exams in 1979, my father suggested that I go and help my father's uncle and learn astrology. Mathematics being my favorite subject, I learned the calculations. My grandfather taught me how to calculate the inclinations of each planet and how to calculate the lagna and the meridian center MC, and he gave me some birth charts to draw. Thus, I learned how to draw the birth charts first and showed interest in predictions. So, my grandfather told me some predictions, some of the tips that he usually uses for predictions, and after learning those tips, I documented some of them. I verified with my father. While my father and my grandfather have laid the foundation for me to get interested in astrology, for almost a decade or 2 decades, I didn't show any interest.
Welcome to Sastry Karra's astrological series. This is another presentation, Sun and retrograded Saturn. When they both are in exalted positions, what is the impact in general? Let's go and see when is that is possible. First of all, Saturn is exalted in Libra, and exactly the 7th house is Aries. That's where Sun will be exalted. So when Sun is in Aries and Saturn is in Libra, that means both the planets are now in exalted position. Then comes the situation. A unique planetary combination is that when you have the Sun exalted and residing in Aries, and you have this exalted Saturn residing in Libra, but in a retrograde means in a retrograde motion, then there is a high possibility for some sort of calamities that results in a notable destruction, whether it might be the human loss or the property loss or something that is not generally that you can think about. Let's go and try to look at when is it the possible. First, Saturn takes approximately from 27 to 29 years to go make the whole circle. So when Saturn leaves Libra, it will enter Libra approximately after 27 years, and in Libra it stays a minimum of 2.5 years and a maximum of 3 years. So we will take the positive side of it as assume that because we are considering the retrograde Saturn, we have to assume that Saturn is in Libra for 3 years. And now comes a Sun. Sun will be in Aries once a year, because it takes 12 months for Sun to go around the circle on all the 12 houses, approximately 12 months. So when does it come to Aries? Usually it comes in the month of March or April. Between March, April, May, in one of these 3 months, Sun will be entering Aries and stays there for 30 to 45 days at the maximum. That's when it gets exalted. So in the 3 years period when Saturn is exalted and residing in Libra, during the 3 years period when Saturn is retrograded, and that retrograded period is either March, April or May, that means exalted retrograded Saturn is going to have a direct aspect on exalted Sun. So that's a unique combination which I am taking. This unique combination is what I am trying to consider it, and while doing my research I found out that under this unique combination there is a high possibility for natural calamities to happen, and which results into destruction either in a human loss or a property loss, something that's not usually that you can think about. So let me do one thing. Let me go a little bit in detail and explain how, from a natal chart perspective, what exactly is this unique combination about. let's start. This is my first example for this particular combination. To justify this particular combination, this is April, that is means Sun is exalted. We know that between 2012 to 2014 or 15, Saturn is in Libra. So on 15th April 2013, there was some sort of in bombing in Boston, Massachusetts, during the Boston Marathon. It happened around 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon. So when I took the chart, what I found out is that first Sun is exalted, Saturn is also exalted and retrograded, and so this particular combination has created some sort of a disturbance. And what you can see is Sun has Sun is deals with the leadership, and Saturn deals with something that has malefic part of it. Here when I look at it, Sun is in a 1 degree 36 minutes, that is Sun is in Rashi Sandhi. And when I look at Saturn is 15 degrees in retrograde mode. That's all. So this is the first example that I want to show, where the condition is that Sun is exalted and Saturn is retrograded and exalted, and they are in between 7 houses between each other, or they are having a direct aspect. Then something calamity that results into loss of humans and property is possible. Here is a second example, Savar building. I don't know exactly what this was, but I remember that with the collapse of that building, a number of people died, and there was a lot of human loss and property loss. So this is the second example I took. It is again in the month of April, 24th April 2013. That means the previous one was 15th April, and this is 24th April, just a week later. But what you see here is that Sun is still in Aries at 10 degrees, and Saturn is still in Libra retrograded with a 14 degrees inclination. So you can see here is that Saturn is co-joined with Rahu. That's the most important thing we have to see, is that when Saturn here is co-joined with Rahu, and both Rahu and Saturn are having a direct aspect on Sun. So something that's pertaining to natural calamities or human losses or property loss is possible, and that's what we see here on that day. This is the third example. It's again in the month of April, but just a year later. And what you can see here is that Saturn is retrograded in 27 degrees. That means it's very close to Rashi Sandhi. 27 degrees is Rashi Sandhi, and the Sun is in Aries, and Sun is in 2 degrees. That means Sun is also in Rashi Sandhi, and Rahu is now co-joined with Saturn still. So in 2013 and 2014, Rahu is co-joined with Saturn, and the previous two events also happened at the same time in 2013. Now this is in April 2014. A ferry capsizing in New York City happened, where a lot of people died and a lot of human losses were being reported. This is the fourth example. The third example was on 16th April 2014, and the fourth example was on 18th April, just 2 days later in 2014 again. That is, there is an earthquake, and which has resulted into loss of human loss and property losses. What is the commonality that you can see here is that in 2013, in the month of April, there were two calamities that has resulted into loss of human lives and property. Again in 2014, you are seeing exact the same thing, where there is a loss of human life and property. And here what you can see is that Sun is still in Rashi Sandhi, that means 4 degrees. Saturn is retrograded and is also in Rashi Sandhi, 27 degrees. So that on 16th April also Sun is in Rashi Sandhi, and Saturn is also in Rashi Sandhi. So these 2 days, April 16th and then April 18th of 2014 were the major days where the combination of Sun and Saturn having a direct aspect, and both are exalted, both are in Rasi Sandhi, and Saturn is retrograded. That resulted into all these calamities that resulted in a lot of human lives and property. This is a Soma mine disaster. This is a coal mine, I think in West Virginia in United States, where there was a big disaster and all the coal miners who were in there got trapped in and died too. Some of them died too. So this happened on 13th May 2014. Look at it. Sun is all still exalted and Saturn is retrograded and exalted. And the thing is here, Sun is in Rasi Sandhi and Saturn is also in Rasi Sandhi, the same way the previous in April 16th and April 18th, the way at that time Sun is also in Rasi Sandhi, but it was in very on the less than 5 degrees. But now Sun is also in Rasi Sandhi, it is in 28 degrees. That means in another 2 degrees it is going to go to the next house. So what you can see here is that when Sun and Saturn are exalted and they both are in Rasi Sandhi and Saturn is in a retrograde mode, then there is a high possibility for an event, unfortunate event to happen where there will be a lot of human loss and property loss too. The previous examples were between 2013 and 2014. So remember I said earlier is that between 27 to 29 years, Saturn will take 27 to 29, 30 years to make a full circle. So from 2013, if you subtract 30 years, it is 1983. So exactly 1983 on 18th April, remember on 18th April 2014, we had some unfortunate event. The same 30 years before that event is on April 18th, 1983. There was a bombing in Lebanon, and the same, it's an unfortunate event that happened. And when you look at it, Sun is in exalted but is in Rasi Sandhi. Saturn is also exalted, retrograded, but also very close to it. I wouldn't say that Saturn is in Rasi Sandhi, but it just left the Rasi Sandhi, because Rasi Sandhi is 5 degrees, from 0 to 5 degrees or 26 to 30 degrees is treated as Rasi Sandhi. It is just 2 degrees away from Rasi Sandhi, because Saturn is one of the most slow moving planets. Even though it is 7 degrees inclination in Libra retrograded, still it is considered to be Rasi Sandhi. So what you can see here is that the event that happened in April in 1983, add 30 years to it, then again in 2013 April, it happened again. So it repeated. So that's what I was trying to tell you, is that whenever Saturn is in retrograded motion, exalted and retrograded, and Sun is also exalted, then there is a high possibility for some natural disaster to happen. And here are the 6 examples that I got it from my research. According to Hindu mythology, Lord Rama was born. When Lord Rama was born, it was, astrologically speaking, the sage mentioned that Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn and Venus are all in exalted positions. That means Sun is in Aries, Saturn is in exalted in Libra. That means Sun and Saturn are having a direct aspect. It's not clear. What I noticed here is that when at the time of birth, I did some calculations and came up with the approximate time of birth. At that time, Saturn was 7 degrees in Libra. That means it is, like I said earlier, it is very, very close to Rasi Sandhi. And Sun is 15 degrees exalted in Aries. So when I did this research, I found out that the possible date for this particular event to happen is on 15th February 7119 BC. So this tells you that in 7119 BC, Sun entered Aries in February. Remember in 1983, 2013 and 2014, we proved that, I showed you that Sun entered Aries in April. So between 7119 BC and 1983 AD, you can see that the Sun has entering the Aries has moved from February to April. Using the same research tools that I used to identify the possibility of the birth of Lord Rama based on the astrological combinations mentioned in Ramayana by sage Valmiki, I found out that on 19th July 7875 AD, 19th July 7875 AD, Sun will be exalted in Aries, same 15 degrees. Saturn is retrograded. Remember, Saturn is retrograded at that time and is in Libra. So the combination of Sun exalted and Saturn retrograded and exalted and having a direct aspect is possible again on 19th July 7875. Here is something that I want to tell you is that in 7119 BC, Sun was in Aries in the month of February. Exactly 14,000 years later, Sun is again in Aries in the month of July. Right now in the 2013, 2014 and 15 like that, in our current 2080, Sun is in April. So when you see it in 2080, Sun is in April. In April, Sun is in Aries, and in 7875 AD, Sun will be in Aries in July. That means April, May, June, approximately July 15th. That means 4 months. So in 5,000 years, Sun will be moving so slowly that our solar system is, the speed of the solar system is getting reduced, that when we do the astrological calculations, Sun entering the Aries will be in the month of July. This is what is a very important thing I want to mention. There was another article where I talked about Sun in Makara, how Sun was delayed in Makara. Usually right now it is entering in January in this century, but it started entering Makara in December in 1 AD, and that's how it goes slow down. And I think I mentioned that there will be a 1 day delay for every 100 years. I'll try to put the link over here too. So the last time Saturn is exalted and Sun is exalted was in 2013/2014. So I used my calculation of sidereal ephemeris and found that the next possibility for Saturn to be in Libra is somewhere between 27 to 30 years from 2014. And I noticed that in year 2042 and 2043, in both the years, this is very important, in both the years, on April 16th, Sun will be in Aries 1 degrees, that is a Rashi Sandhi, and Saturn is in Libra at 9 degrees. And if you look at it from 16th April to 22nd April, the inclination of Saturn is reducing. That means Saturn is retrograded on 16th April 2042, exalted, and Sun is exalted and in a Rashi Sandhi. So between 16th April 2042 for almost 1 month, that is 15th May 2042, this is the crucial period where something major event will happen that is similar to the one that has happened in 2013 or 2014, and again the same events repeat 1 year later, that is on 16th April 2043 to for another 30 days. So what I'm trying to predict here is that between 16th in year 2042 and year 2043, starting 16th April for the next 30 days, that is 15th 16th May in each year in 2042 and 2043, there is a high possibility for some natural calamity to happen that would result in very heavy human losses and property losses. So this is exactly the way that we have seen in 2013 and 2014 will be repeated. Fortunately, it's almost 30 years from now, 27 to 30 years from now, and I will be around over 75 by then. So I don't know whether I will be witnessing my prediction, whether my prediction came true or not in 2042 or 2043, but I'm hoping that any listener who is under 40 will be able to at least see, and if they see, I'm sure, and if they remember this presentation, I'm sure they will recollect my presentation. Thank you very much, and I hope you like this presentation. Thank you for watching my presentation, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation. More presentations will be coming up very soon, and let me know if you have any other suggestions or anything. Feel free to update the feedback in the YouTube channel, or feel free to send email to this email address, or you can even go over to this blog and post your questions, or if you want any chart to be for prediction, feel free to post in this particular blog. Thank you very much.